What's going on, guys? Adam Milstead here with Straight Yak'd, coming to you on the Outdoor Radio Network. What's going on, guys? Adam Milstead here, coming to you on the Outdoor Radio Network. Guys, you are listening to Straight Yak'd Fishing, and this is the second half of the Kayak Power Hour. So first off, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. We're going to talk about a couple different things here, but mainly what I want to talk about is if you guys are looking to get into kayak fishing, what are the 10 basic gear items you guys need in order to go out and just be out actually fishing and catching fish on a kayak. So we're going to talk about that here today on, again, the last half of the Kayak Power Hour, guys. If you're listening on the iHeart Radio or if you're listening on the Outdoor Radio app, which is totally free, guys, you are more than welcome to give me a follow on Straight Yak'd. That's STR8YAKD Fishing at pretty much all the social medias, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and of course you can follow me on my personal page at Adam Milstead. So before I begin, I gotta get it off my chest here, guys. I do not know what it is with me this year, as far as hunting. I don't know if you guys have had a good hunting year. I don't know. I feel like I'm the only one that's not killing anything out there. I feel like I'm the only one that's, just kind of practicing hunting, so to speak, duck hunting wise. Like here in Pennsylvania, you got to have a special place in your heart to go out there and try to call in some of the most stale birds you've ever had to deal with. I am convinced that you take a decent or successful PA waterfowl hunter and you put them out there in Arkansas, North Dakota, whatever, and that guy is going to absolutely be a menace because the things that we have to do is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the last 3 times I've went out, I may have killed 2 birds and seen about 5 or 6. It's been absolutely brutal. I don't know if that migration screwed up. We're not getting the weather that we need. It feels like it's cold. It's cold, at least here in Pennsylvania. Feels like it's getting colder out on the East Coast, but just, I don't know, man. Birds aren't coming in. And then as far as deer hunting goes, oh my goodness. I went out last weekend for 2 days straight and saw about 5 deer, 1 good buck, and that was chasing 4 doe. And they were all like just in some of the thickest brush in like human history. Like if you ever hunt in Western Pennsylvania, we have things called briar patches. And these are just thorn patches that are just like, they're terrible. They're like great for rabbit hunting. I think Pennsylvania is probably more known for rabbit hunting than anything else. I think that's a kind of odd thing to say because honestly, between duck hunting and deer hunting, it's been tough, but I had a shot at a nice buck and I decided not to take it because even though I'm using a 30-06, who knows? You have a limb that gets in the way, vines, they'll screw that shot up and you'll end up either A, injuring a deer, which is terrible, and you're chasing it all night, or B, you're just wasting ammo. So yeah, it has been tough out there. I don't know what's going on, but who knows? Maybe was it this Saturday coming up? I'll probably get a chance to go out for the last day of rifle season here in Pennsylvania. And I hope I get a hold of something. I've got a doe tag, so if it's brown, it's down. That's the way it goes, Well, hopefully I'll have some better luck, guys. Obviously, it seems like everybody seems to be having a way better year than me. So if you guys are one of those individuals out there who are just absolutely killing it, or you have the blessing to be able to hunt private land, God bless you. I mean, I can't fathom what it would be like to actually have a certain amount of acreage that you can manage deer, that you can, run your cameras and be able to find these things. Like it's tough. It's tough when you're poor. Anyways, all right, we're going to jump into, again, what I was talking before at the beginning of the show is I want to talk about 10 things that you're going to need if you want to get out there and be successful on the water in kayak fishing. Okay, so maybe you've, I don't know, heard this channel quite a bit. Maybe you follow the channel. Maybe you're getting into kayak fishing because, maybe you got a buddy or whatever, and you're looking, where do I start? What do I do? What do I need? And so this list that I put together is the 10 basic items you need in order, again, to have some success out on the water and actually go out there and catch fish on a kayak. So the very first thing we got to start off with, and you always, always, always have to do this, and like in anything you do in life, I mean, it should be safety first, right? Like it's plain and simple. Like if you guys go out there and you just throw safety to the wind and you go out there and just start doing whatever it is, you could very well be the next person on the late news where they're looking for you because you didn't show back up. Your wife's been worried. Where are you at? The unfortunate thing is we had a few situations like that this year of people not wearing PFDs. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think it was like a 96 or 97% of all deaths in kayak fishing are from people who weren't wearing PFDs, who 100% would still be alive today if they just wore a PFD. So, number one gear item you need for kayak fishing before you get out on the water is a PFD. You've got two different styles. You've got foam inserted and then you have auto inflating. The foam inserts are ones that I always recommend because, number one, I always say PFDs are not only a safety tool, they're also a tool for your fishing. So I love to store like my phone. I like to store like maybe scissors and things like that just in my pockets of my PFD. And a foam insert of PFD is going to allow you to be able to do that. But you also have auto inflating. Now, notice I didn't say manual inflating. They do make Coast Guard approved manual inflated PFDs, which great, they're fine, but about half of the deaths that we had last year were some sort of um health issue where you don't know if you fall in the water that you're going to have or be conscious enough or have enough ability to be able to pull that lanyard to be able to inflate your manual PFD. And so that's why I always say get auto inflating. There's some things that you have to, do a little bit of maintenance on from time to time. There's a thing called I think it's called like a bobbin. What it does is it soaks up water, which ignites the CO2 cartridge in a certain way that will inflate the PFD if you were unconscious and things like that. Okay, so anyways, PFD, personal flotation device. Most states actually require you to have one on you when you are in a kayak or you're in a vessel 16 foot or less. I know Pennsylvania is sort of like that. But then, obviously, if you're in a boat, you still have to have some sort of Coast Guard approved personal flotation devices. So, anyways, definitely PFD. All right. Number two, I'm going to say headlamp. And there's been so many times where I forgot a headlamp and it's absolutely terrible. And the next thing you know, I'm using my phone to try to see as I'm either making my way down to a very dim lighted ramp. B, I'm trying to tie things up in the middle of the night and I'm making mistakes and I'm hooking myself. You can kind of almost think the headlamp, having your, vision would be a safety thing. And so for me, I always say bring a headlamp because also if there was a situation where you found yourself out in the water and it's either, late at night or it's early in the morning or something like that, and people are looking for you, that headlamp is 100% going to be a great signaling device. Okay, a lot of them will have like the SOS already kind of like pre-installed on these headlamps, and you can hit that. There's a lot of different things that you can use headlamps for, but of course, obviously, like it's obvious you need to have a headlamp in order to see in very low light conditions. So again, headlamp would be a good one. The other one, number three, is what I'm going to talk about, is especially if you're fishing in the summertime and you have basically that sun's beat down on you, sunscreen, guys. One of the most terrible things that's happening in our culture today due to UV rays is the amount of skin cancer that's coming out. It's absolutely wild. Now, people are like, well, that sunscreen's going to give you skin cancer too. I'm like, well, I'd much rather take a risk on that. And maybe I might, I don't know, maybe win a lawsuit because it gave me cancer versus then simply like I got a growth on my face that I need to get cut out. And unfortunately, it's already hit my lymph nodes and now they've only given me 6 months to live. Like, yeah, I would rather take the chance on having something protect me from the sun, and then maybe potentially have some health issues down the road. There's some natural ones out there. I haven't tried them, but honestly, I don't think it it's just I think it's people just making excuses. They don't want to take the time to lather up with sunscreen. Okay, so make sure you get some sunscreen out there. Plus, I don't know if you look at me, because I need to start wearing more and more sunscreen. I don't ever reapply, especially in tournaments, because I'm so fixated. I got to get better at for this year. But I'm looking like I'm aging like milk right now. If you guys are watching on YouTube, yeah. So this ain't fine wine. This is straight up vitamin D milk that's aging. So I gotta, protect your skin, guys. Protect your skin. That sun is going to age you very, very quickly. Um, and then let's go into obviously, again, kind of dealing with warm weather. You guys are out there and you're dealing with very hot environments. I mean, there were a couple times this year where I think it got darn near 100 degrees. And that water, like the water's heating up, and it's just like, and then you always like, for me, I'm so competitive. I get such like this mindset of like I can't not do anything other than cast my rod because the next bite could be a potential winner for that tournament. I get so fixated on that I forget to drink water. So I'm going to say 100%. Number 4, you got to have water on your kayak. Make sure you bring water. They've got a ton of different opportunities to carry water and all these cool little things. Heck, you can even get like a hydration pack, like a Camelback and some. I know a couple guys do that. So water is definitely 100% something you need. If you get off the water, I've done this a few times. You get off the water and you look at your water bottle and it's not even open, and the next thing you know, like maybe 20 minutes later, you have the worst headache of your life. That's because you're dehydrated and your kidneys are literally hating you right now. So have water. But guys, we're going to jump into a quick intro here and then, quick intro. What the heck? I'm not even making a video right now. I'm on a radio. Sorry. My brain is all over the place. Anyways, guys, we're going to take a quick break and then we will be jumping back into our next 6 or the last 6 items you need for kayak fishing. So stay tuned, guys, here on Straight Yak. All right, guys, welcome back to Straight Yak'd Fishing. My name is Adam Milstead. Thank you so much for joining me, whether or not you're joining me on the iHeartRadio app or on the Outdoor Radio app. Thank you so much for joining in. Again, we were talking last half of this episode, we were talking about, your top 10 items that you would need to get out there and fish in a kayak and do it, successfully, do it safely and all that stuff. Okay. It all kind of, there's so many different things that you can get wrapped up in. And for people out there who really want to get into kayak fishing, a lot of them are just asking like, what are the bare bones? Where do I begin? And so this list that I create is basically an opportunity for you guys to take that, get the gear, get all the things in order, and then you'll be able to go out there and actually do whatever it is you want to do in kayak fishing. Okay. Whether or not you want to compete, whether or not you want to just go out and do it recreationally, it's up to you, but it's a great starting point. And then from there, you can obviously start building up on all the little gadgets and things and graphs and motors that you want to put on the kayak. But this is the bare bones list, so you guys know what to get started with. Okay. So, before we went to break, we talked about the first four, which I kind of revolved around safety. Safety first. You guys need a PFD, whether or not it's a foam inserted or auto inflating. That's the only two that I recommend. You need a headlamp. Okay. Obviously, being able to see in low light conditions super important, but also using that headlamp as a way of signaling if you need help. Sunscreen, again, I'm aging like milk out here. Okay. That's because I'm not reapplying that sunscreen. That sun will beat you up, but also skin cancer is 100% one of the most detrimental cancers that we're dealing with in our society today. And that's due to the UV rays and not protecting our skin. And then number four, we talked about was should be a no brainers water, but it's just things that we tend to forget about, when we get mixed up in bringing all our rods and reels and baits and graphs and motors and things like that. We forget some of the simplest things, which is like, hey, how do I stay hydrated out on the water? You got to have water. Okay. So once we got those four out of the way, the last one, which kind of, I guess, kind of goes with safety, maybe not. It goes with the law. Okay. So number five, and you guys notice that I have not even started with kayaks. We haven't even gotten into the actual kayak itself. These are the things that you need to start out with, because these are the things that, number one, going to keep you safe and then keep you stress free away from the green pants. And one of those things is obviously a fishing license. I don't know any state out there that doesn't allow you to, or doesn't, that has you where you could fish without a license, unless you like fish in a different country. Like here in the United States, you have to have a fishing license if you're over the age of 16. Okay. Fishing license, 100%. If you are planning on motorizing your kayak, you can also go ahead and jump on board to get it registered. Okay. That can be a number of different things you have to go through. You'll need a bill of sale, you'll need a title of a boat, you'll need all this stuff, and actually go into a notary and you can get your kayak registered so you can actually motorize it. So basically anything beyond a human powered ability on that kayak, you're going to need registration in most states. And then also, if you don't plan to register it, because the registration will also take place of this, but if you don't plan to motorize it, you can get away with just doing a launch permit. Here in Pennsylvania, we actually require, if you are launching from a state or some sort of local waters that utilize a state run ramp, you will need to have a launch permit. Yes, there's some fine lines that you could probably, not need a launch permit. Maybe if you're not launching from a ramp, I don't know what it is, but these launch permits are literally like, they're like $7 for a year. Like, okay, do it. And guess what? It goes to helping preserve our launches anyways. Okay. So get a launch permit if you don't plan on getting it registered, because a registration will actually take place of a launch permit. So, all right, that's number five. Number six, this is where we're going to start getting to actually the gear. Okay. So, uh, number six is going to be a kayak. Obviously, if you guys want to go kayak fishing, you're going to need a kayak. Like that, obviously. But the thing is like, what do you do? Do you do a sit on top or do you sit in kayak? Okay. So, kind of just like real summarized in this, I can go into a whole nother video about just talking about kayaks between, versus a sit on top versus a sit in. Okay. The biggest thing that I'm going to tell you is with a sit on top, you're going to be way more comfortable. You're going to have more room to store gear. You're going to have, an ability to motorize it. The best, I guess you can motorize a sit in, but it's gonna be tough. But most of the sit on tops you can motorize, you can get it fitted out with graphs. You can really, get these things to basically be little bass boats. And then also they are way more stable than a sit-in kayak. The good thing about a sit-in kayak is that, your feet and legs aren't necessarily exposed to the elements of the sun. Maybe if it is raining, maybe if it's, maybe, I don't know, maybe you got some wind, you want to avoid wind burn, you're sitting inside the kayak, so you won't deal with that. But if it's raining, you're going to get rain in your kayak and there's no way to get it out other than literally pump it out or tip it over. But sit-in kayaks, and they are relatively light. If you're planning on just running and gunning, a sit-in kayak might be something that you're looking to get into, totally up to you. But for me, I do suggest the sit on top kayaks. And obviously, you need your connection to the fish. A lot of people are like, "What do you mean?" No, I don't mean spiritually, I mean physically. Okay. You need a rod, reel, line. That is obviously super important for fishing. Unless you're planning on going out there with cast nets or, whatever, spear fishing. I don't know. I've never tried to like bow fishing from a kayak. I bet you that'd be kind of cool. But no, you definitely need rods, reels, and with that you need rod holders. Okay. I do suggest getting some sort of rod holders. A great brand is Yak'd. Yak'd literally makes everything that you could think of as far as attachments on a kayak. You guys can go and check those guys out. They have everything known to man, between cell phone holders, rod holders, to kayak tackle box, crates, paddle holders. They have whatever. They have a ton of different stuff. But of course, they have rod holders that you could put on your kayak so that obviously you can store your rods that way. But so that's number 7. And then number 8 is a tackle box. Oh, tackle boxes for kayaks look a lot different than tackle boxes for boats. Or, I know some guys will utilize travel style tackle boxes that are like book bags and things like that. And they have all these, 3,700 Plano boxes and things like that. You could do that with. But for kayaks, we have things. If you go to Yak'd, you could check out the Black Pack Pro. This is the one that I recommend for everybody. It's a very sturdy style, basically crate that would fit in the back of your kayak. But what it also does is it has rod holders, so you can store your rods, but you can also store all your baits, your line, whatever it is that you want to bring. And it's fairly waterproof too. I'm not going to say it's totally waterproof, but it definitely keeps the rain from getting inside and getting everything you have inside of that tackle box. It keeps it all dry. So the Black Pack Pro from Yak'd is something I do 100% uh, recommend for you guys to get if you're wanting to get into a tackle box and start storing your tackle in your kayak. They have the 3,700 Plano boxes is what I use. And this is where you're obviously going to store all your assorted baits. Okay. So it's a great way to basically, you can sort of organize whatever baits between your deep cranks, your shallow cranks, your top water, your terminal tackle. It could be a number of different things that you store in these 3,700 Plano boxes, but it's definitely something that has definitely made my life a lot easier. So again, I recommend that. Now, I probably should have went right after kayak. I probably should have went into this one, which is number 9, which is obviously you need a way for your kayak to go, right? You need it for, you need your kayak to be able to just not just float aimlessly down the river, allow the wind to push you wherever. You're going to need a paddle or a pedal drive. Okay. So most of the kayaks I would recommend, well, I recommend every kayak take a paddle with you, regardless if you got a motor on it, regardless if you have a pedal drive. I do recommend a paddle because things happen on the water. And I've been in many of those scenarios where I had a motor in the back of my kayak and I hit a stump or a rock and I busted a shear pin. I didn't have another one to replace. Guess what? If I didn't have a paddle, I would be dragging that thing or swimming that thing back in. So very important that you guys have a paddle with you at all times, but also, make sure to check your kayak. Most kayaks that come ready to be rigged up with a pedal drive will have the pedal drive included. But I do know that there are certain kayaks out there, or maybe you're buying a sort of a hand-me-down. And if you buy that, just make sure it has a pedal drive. And if it doesn't, then maybe you might be able to find one. I know most companies have pedal drives for their kayaks, will have the pedal drives alone for you guys to buy. So you're more welcome to just go and check out whatever brand of kayak you're looking at and make sure it's got one with it. And then obviously if you're buying it from somebody else, make sure that one that they have works, or if not, you can go get one. So, and then a motor, guys, like honestly, I don't really suggest like immediately starting out with the motor, because there's a lot of stuff to know about utilizing motors, because now you're also going to have to find, how do you steer the motor? You know, do you steer it with your feet? Do you steer with like maybe an iPilot or something like that? Maybe you've got a remote for your motor. That stuff can get kind of complicated. This is the basics, okay? So um, and then last but not least, and I've already sort of alluded to this, is obviously you guys need baits, right? Whether or not, so if you're a recreational fisherman, obviously you can fish for live bait. You need hooks, you need sinkers, you need, a lot of your terminal tackle. But obviously, as competitive bass fishermen, or just again, recreational bass fishermen, you want to fish with artificials, you need artificials. So going back to that Yak'd Black Pack Pro, you get these 3,700 box, or 3,700 plano box, and you can fit out everything you want in those boxes. So definitely you're going to need an assorted baits. But anyways, guys, we talked a lot. We're good. I think you guys got the gist of it. That's what you need in order to go out there and actually kayak fish. So guys, thank you so much for joining in this week on Straight Yak Fishing. Thanks for listening, guys, on the Outdoor Radio Network or iHeartRadio app. Hopefully you guys get out on the water, get yacked. Thanks for watching Straight Yak.